You know, Delia, you should be sitting over here with me.
Okay.
So the whole process would just be so nice. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Delia is going to be live with me here on Facebook. So those of you who would like to log on, I am back. And we're going to be talking about what's going on here in Mount Vernon, Lower Westchester County in New York. It's quite troubling and we're all concerned. I don't know about you. We're concerned here and we're concerned about Jamaica. There are other parts of the world that are having issues, but specifically to Jamaica. So that's what we're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
So Delia, what's on your mind?
You know, Lady D, there are very few people probably in Mount Vernon who have not heard about the two, maybe more shootings, but two particular shooting incidents that resulted in death in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And one happened on Christmas morning, and that was Mr. O'Neill Bandu, the co-owner of a catering hall here in Mount Vernon, and we know that place well, you and I, Lady D.
Yes.
And then little Shamoya McKenzie, 13-year-old rising star, beautiful child, only child for her mother, who was hit by a stray bullet on New Year's Eve.
Yes.
And so these incidents, among others, because we've had other shootings, prior shootings and subsequent shootings in our community, fortunately they did not result in death, is a wake-up call, I feel, for us. And we say that, you know, whenever there are shootings in this community, we march and we protest and we, you know, respond. But I think that it is particularly troubling.
Yes.
When at 2:30 in the afternoon, a mother is driving her child down 3rd Street, and that child is hit by a stray bullet. No, you know, people say it all the time, and I don't think we realize, but for the grace of God, it could have been any one of us or any one of our children.
Exactly.
And so we should all be outraged about this, right? We should all be outraged about the fact that we're living in a community that does not seem to value life. And so, you know, what do we do about it? How do we respond? And, you know, I was listening to your other guest, your previous guest, and, you know, violence is a part of life, but we should never, ever, ever get used to it. We should not become desensitized to it, because every time someone dies, you know, we should be just up in arms in a violent way like this. And so, you know, that's my concern, Lady D. And, you know, I co-chair with Francis Wynn and an initiative called My Brother's Keeper in Mount Vernon. And that initiative is a President Obama initiative developed in 2014, committed to improving life outcomes for young men of color, right? And as part of that, you know, we were, you know, plodding along, you know, following the tenets of the initiative. And we had other shooting incidents. And, you know, we took a kind of like a little bit of a deviation in our cause. And we convened a second meeting committed to community violence, just to talk about community violence.
Right.
And at the end of, you know, as part of that, what we decided was that it was important for us to declare community violence in Mount Vernon as a public health epidemic.
Yes.
So, and not looking for just a public safety approach to community violence, but looking at a more comprehensive approach, utilizing the research and the evidence that a public health approach affords.
Now, when we heard of the shooting of the 13-year-old, as a matter of fact, I saw a very short video clip. Someone was driving by The car doors were open. People were gathered, around looking and all that. And you could hear the person saying, "Oh my God, no, there was any evidence of her lying anywhere." And then I realized, oh, something tragic has happened. I, to date, have not heard, like you would perhaps hear happening in other communities, where people literally go and march or go and stand before some public building somewhere and cry out and ask, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it?
Right, right.
And also, I also heard people saying that, where were the police and so on. I'd like to remind persons that the law enforcers, no matter how many you deploy within the community to walk and beat the street, etc., they will never be able to cover every nook and cranny of the community, which then leaves, in my opinion, the onus on community, the people in the community, to always be on the lookout.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Granted, you can't stop a man chasing another one with a gun, but certainly if you're alert enough to say, somebody ran by me and that just don't seem right, and you call out, there's a sound that is made.
Right. Yeah. Lady D, we've developed a culture where getting involved in our reporting or somehow providing information, is considered like snitching, right? Mm-hmm. It's a bad thing. It's a terrible thing. And so what the result is that we have a community where people choose not to get involved, even if they might know something. And that's really so sad. Mm-hmm. That's really so sad that we would be so apathetic, so uncaring, that you know something about, potential crime or crimes that have been committed, and you're not sharing it. Because we are becoming a lawless community, and that's not comfortable for anybody. That's not comfortable for people who consider themselves criminal. That's not comfortable for the people who are the victims of crime, and that's not comfortable for people who are just the bystanders, who say, "Well, no, I'm living in that area, or I'm not affected by it," or so we are all affected by a 13-year-old child getting killed by a random gunfire. Yes. No matter how we pretend, and we cannot just pick up and say, "Okay, here we go, let's carry on."
Yes.
We cannot do that, because I think we are losing a little bit of our humanity. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We're losing a little bit of our humanity if we don't, like you said, are not up in arms. And and then think about the effect. And we've talked about this so much when bad things happen in our community. Yeah. But think about how the children in our class, the children on our team, the other children, them who maybe not connected to her but just in the community, and know that there was a little girl driving in her mama's car, mm-hmm. and she got shot and killed. Mm-hmm. How is this affecting our children? And and how will it affect them moving forward? So we really have to think about the impact of all of this on our lives.
Ladies and gentlemen, Delia Farquharson, it's First Thursday here on the show in Sound the Zone. I'm your host, Lady D. I'd like to welcome our audience on the Facebook Live, and I invite you to share on your pages, and you may call us here in studio if you'd like to be a part of the discussion. 914-600-4228, 914-202-4934. That's 914-600-4228, 914-202-4934. We're talking about the random shooting of a young 13-year-old. And on Christmas morning, the proprietor of the mansion here in Mount Vernon, he tragically lost his life as well.
Yeah, and that's another senseless act. When you think about it, just the fact that, and your previous guest, Mr. Ross, said it, but people think that it's okay to solve their problems with guns. Mm-hmm. No, I don't know what state this shooter was, the one that gunned down Mr. Bamboo and mm-hmm. other people. Mm-hmm. I don't know what state of mind he was in at the time, but there's no excuse for it, for him to why would you be going to a club and bringing a gun anyway?
Exactly. Because when you're going out, aren't you going out to enjoy yourself? You're not expecting to be having any kind of
unless you are
with some, unless you're heavily involved in something.
Right,
and
unless
have to
you
watch
are,
your
right, unless you are.
Yeah.
Because clearly, if you packing your gun to go to the club, you either anticipating something or you preparing for something, and it results in the loss of a father to children, and a husband to his wife, and and to a contributing member of our community. And it's just really it has to stop. It has to stop. And we say that it's not empty words, but if that's what is going to be happening, then who's going to drive down 3rd Street? What's going to happen to the businesses? What kind of community will we be if this is the way life is going to be here?
Yes. And Mount Vernon is it's not a big city.
No, not at all.
It's a small city.
It's 4 by 4 square miles.
So you say to yourself, now, that simply means every day when I leave my house, I'm going to have to be walking and spinning, looking around me because I don't know what's going to happen. But you know what I've come to understand in my lifetime as an adult? Once something tragic happens, and it's almost like it phases out. You are aware that it happened, but because there is no immediate action, people are not continuously speaking about it and all that. Sometimes you'll forget.
Yeah, and that is what we run the risk of doing, of becoming desensitized, right? Because, someone said it at a meeting I was at on Tuesday, where they said, after the killing of Shamoya McKenzie, on 7th, I think, or 3rd and 7th, there was a man shot. Mm-hmm. And when they said, oh, but he only got shot in his hand, people were like, oh,
yes, so it's only
right.
in his hand.
So now we're normalizing things that should not be normal.
Yes.
Right? We are normalizing things that should not be normal.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you have concerns? Most of you here live in Mount Vernon. People who are listening via World Wide Web and you're not in this vicinity, those of you who live here in Mount Vernon, you have expressed yourselves, you've called in and spoken on programs, but outside of that, what concerns you most?
Right. And what can you do? How can you impact this problem? Now, this is a problem that's affecting all of us. Violence in the community is something that's affecting all of us. What do you intend to do? Mm-hmm. And like I said, declaring a public health crisis is to say, we need to do something about it. I think the murder rate, the shooting rate and maybe even the murder rate has gone up like exponentially, if it's not 600 or 800% over last year. Yes. That's significant.
Mm-hmm. That's cause for concern.
It is. I mean, it truly is. So maybe it's only 8 or 10 or 14 people, but still, and you have to look at the percentage increase and say what is going on and what are we going to do about it. Do we feel like we deserve to live in a safe community? Is that something that we want? Do we want to feel like if your child goes out there and is walking down 3rd, that you can have some relative certainty that they're going to come back to you alive?
Mm-hmm. And that's it, because can you imagine? Picture it now, as gruesome as it may sound. But here is a mother and her child traveling together. A second prior, they had some passing moment happened. And in the next second, that stray shot.
Yeah.
And just like that, she was gone.
Right. And just like that, life changes and will never be the same. And it's the same thing for Mr. Bandu. Mm-hmm. So this gentleman decides that for whatever reason, he's going to go back outside, get his gun and shoot the place up. Mm-hmm. Right? And life changes for those who were shot. And most definitely for for Mr. Bandu and for his family.
Yes, it's very sad. If you'd like to call and express your concerns, your sentiments, you may call us here, 914-600-4228, 914-202-4934. That's 914-600-4228. 4228-914-202-4934. There was also a 17-year-old schoolboy of Calabar
Right.
who was brutally stabbed. There is a video.
Of it?
Yes. No, not of it. There's a video of his mother, which I intend to air on the program, which I'll do on Monday. But she is just beside. She was able to have conversation, right? But the woman is so distraught. I mean, it's just, I sat there watching it last night because I saw it last night, and I said, oh my God, she loves her son. Now, when it's your only child, and it's no different if you have 4, 5, 6, because it's the love. But then there are no other children if it's your only child. In this instance, with this woman in Jamaica, she has other children. You know, but they certainly can't replace him.
You can't. And so, how do we restore respect for human life? Right? How do we get those who are perpetrating the crimes and the gun violence and bringing the guns into the communities, to the different communities, or in the case of the young man in Jamaica using a knife? How do we get people to once again respect life? When it's not yours to give, and so therefore you should not be, seeking to take another person's life. And, it is this idea of different, and Mr. Ross talked a little bit about it, where, some people see themselves as bad man, and some see themselves as not bad man, and some see themselves as Americans, and some see themselves as West Indians, and there might be beef there and whatever. So, it's really unfortunate.
Good evening. We have a call on Skype. How are you?
I am blessed. A pleasant good evening to you, Lady D, and to your
dear.
guest.
Hey,
Thank you.
Patricia. How are you?
I am truly blessed. I was able to log in a little late.
Okay, that's fine.
So I just saw you on Facebook, and the topic kind of spooked my interest because, it's really disturbing and troubling to me myself, the violence we have in our city. I have considered Mount Vernon home. Ever since I immigrated from Jamaica, Mount Vernon has been my home. And there is no other place I would rather live. Unfortunately for me too, I lost a son to gun violence. It's a little disturbing for me right now. However, in 2 weeks, we see that we have had 2 recent deaths. And we have to ask ourselves, what can we do about this gun violence in our community? Most of the time, the perpetrators themselves, they don't even live within the city. And it's leaving such an indelible mark, in our city and even in our society, because when we lose loved ones, it just doesn't affect, the deceased. It also affects the perpetrators also. And it's sending such a negative message, within our city right now that, we're a gun-toting city, but it's not the city itself. It's the people who live within the city. People now, I believe, they've kind of lost respect for their fellow mankind and for their loved ones. Because I go to church right around the corner, and sometimes that's the time I'm leaving to come home. And when my daughter called me on Saturday, she said, Mom, if you're home, stay put. Don't come out of the house because they closed off First Street. And it's kind of upsetting to me. I could be one walking along, minding my own business, going to church, coming home, just moseying about my business. And here's it, But this is the society that we're living in. And unfortunately, some people, have become desensitized to this kind of behavior. But it's very troubling.
It is. It is.
And I have to say, how sorry I am for your loss. Because nobody, unless you've experienced it, can't imagine what that loss feels like.
My sister, it's been over 10 years, and it's just as fresh as yesterday.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And next week would have been my son's birthday, but I feel the pain, and I share the pain of all the mothers who have lost, their children, because back in the days it was children bearing parents.
Right.
Now it's parents bearing children.
And that's not the natural order.
It leaves such a empty feeling. And no matter how many children you have, losing a child to violence like that, and I really grieve for that poor mother in Jamaica. I saw her picture on Facebook, and I could even bear to look at it. The pain that she's going through. Nobody knows the pain that poor woman is going through. And I just pray that God will just strengthen her and strengthen the mother now who have lost her daughter, because just sitting next with your child next to you slumped over and the child is dead. My God, that must be so frightening.
Yes.
And this poor woman who have lost her husband, left with 6 children. Oh God, the pain is horrible. But I would just recommend that they go into therapy, because I have to go into therapy for a year and possibly more. If I didn't have the friends and family, if I didn't have the kind of support, I don't know, I probably thought I would have been dead myself. The pain and the grief. And not because you don't cry for people to see. You cry silently by yourself.
Yes.
Get to the point where you're feeling that you're going to go into some kind of depression, and you're blaming yourself. You're asking God, why did you take me? Why did you take these young kids? So we just have to pray up for one another and just be our brothers and sister keeper. I don't know if I will be able to go to any of these funerals, because a funeral just really wear me down. But I just say, my silent prayer for the family, that God will just strengthen them so we can be able to move on. But in the meantime, what can we do as a city, to support families who are going through this kind of grief?
Delia, you want to share Patricia, hold on a minute.
Right. I think, Patricia, you've made such excellent points. And I really want to thank you, because you know, I can tell you were paying attention in therapy. You touched on the stages of grief that people might be going through, the denial, the depression, the anger, the blaming, the negotiation with God. Right. So
never accept what happened.
Never accept it. Part of it is is one, supporting each other. So if we can, instead of using anger as a tool to communicate with our neighbors, we should be communicating through love and kindness and compassion. And it's really important for us to be setting good examples in our city. And we want our city leaders, we want our adults in the environment to be modeling good behavior for our children, because they're listening, they're watching, and they're learning. And so we want to make sure that they are learning the right thing. But it's really important for people to get information, understand that this is traumatic on many levels. And like you, Patricia, I applaud you for the fact that you recognize that you needed professional help. And people need to recognize if they need professional help, ain't nothing wrong with it. Go get the professional help. Yes, go get the professional help that you need so that you can carry on with your life. You will never be whole. You will never be the same. But at least you will be able to carry the grief and carry the sorrow and the trauma in a way that you can still function in the rest of your life. And I think
thank you.
Yes.
And I'm so glad I did, because that's what enabled me to be functioning right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Not that I was able to cope, but I did receive the skills wherein I can cope. And as a result of that, I was able to help other mothers who have lost their children. Because my friend who lost her son in Iraq, Carmen Palmer, I was able to help, with that funeral and help her with that grieving process.
Right.
And as a result, she herself became a mentor. She was able to help other moms, through the Gold Star
Moms.
the Gold Mothers program. So you see, one helps the other, and we keep on helping each other.
Yes.
So that's what we have to do. We have to be our brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. You could not say it better. Yes, you could not say it better. Because I coach here, like I said, the My Brother's Keeper, and it's really important. So it's a lifestyle. We should be living that lifestyle of taking care of each other. And what you have done by getting help, and then using that help to help others, and then the other that you help can get help for themselves and help others. And so this is how we can change our community, one person at a time. We might not be able to do it all at once, but one person at a time, one child at a time. Yes,
we can help
one person. We can make a better community.
All right, Patricia, I thank you so much always for being a part of the show.
It's a wonderful program. It's a topic that, it's really impact and affect our community. So thanks for coming into our homes. And Delia, thank you for being a part of the team this evening.
Thank you so much.
I learned from you, and I hope you've learned from me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thanks, Patricia. Have a good evening.
And I wish for you the same, my sister.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
We're wrapping up now, Delia. Your final comments for the audience?
It's really important to understand that community violence cannot be solved only by the police. It is going to take a comprehensive, all-hands-on-deck approach. Church, community members, grassroots organization, families, and we're going to start with the individual, just like Ms. Patricia says. We have to look at how we impact the children in a positive way, how we impact our neighbors and our friends and our loved ones in a positive way, so that by changing how we deal with each other and deal with each other in a more positive way, we are impacting our families, and then by impacting our families, we're impacting our community and our society at large. But it starts with just changing our own behavior and recognizing that we can do better.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, Know the Facts aired first Thursdays here on the show Inside the Zone with yours truly, Lady D. Delia Farquharson is my guest, and I'm looking forward to having more discussions with you in February, Delia.
Yes, ma'am. I always look forward to it.
Yes, thank you. I hope you were informed this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Earlier in the program and during the Community Link segment, I had Jamaica's Dwight Barrelman Ross, and we talked about all that he has been doing in Jamaica. He's becoming a positive influence, and as a young 40-year-old, he is doing well, and we all just have to say a prayer when we think of people who are really placing a mark, leaving a legacy in their communities and across the world. Wrapping it up this evening with Delia, we're declaring community violence as a public health crisis in Mount Vernon, New York. Are you ready to come on board? What concerns you most? Thanks to Country Kitchen Pelham, the sponsor of the show, and I'm looking forward to being here on Monday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. with the Monday Drive, keeping you in the know in the city you walk, drive, and reside. Reminding you to stop by Country Kitchen or give them a call, 914-633-5000. This has been Inside the Zone, the first Thursday feature in the month of January. It's January 5, 2017. As always, love yourselves, love your children, and remember in everything you do, it is the will of God concerning your life. Blessings, love, 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 everybody. I am out of here. Thank you for joining me Facebook Live. I'll be posting the video, and I'm sure persons who were not able to log on this evening, they will become more interested in what's going on here in Mount Vernon. Spread the word, share it on your pages, and I'll see you on Monday, God willing, from 5 to 7. Bye, bye, bye.